In my welcome video, I talked about providing you with a framework which would support further exploration together in our digital lab. I meanwhile mentioned that we would be interrogating, that is, asking questions of the material with which we come into contact and thinking about connecting and contrasting ideas. Here, I was hinting at the core method around which this whole course is structured. This is to move through the different levels of thinking skills and develop an awareness that this is what we are always doing with each new bit of content we bring to our lab. In other words, this course is as much about literacy as it is about thinking skills and learning how to learn. But what are these thinking skills? Why is it important that we have explicit knowledge of these skills? And finally, what is their relevance to our current purpose? To work our way through the first stages of the Digital Literacy Lab. So, what are these thinking skills? Here starts the theory. In the mid-20th century, the American educational psychologist Benjamin Bloom came up with a model which carved up thinking and assigned different levels to this activity. This model, called the cognitive taxonomy, as simply a classification or categorization for thinking, became hugely influential. It has more recently been revised and gives us a 6-part structure divided into 2 halves, lower order and higher order thinking skills. In lower order thinking skills, we have the ability to remember, understand and apply. And in higher order thinking skills, we have the ability to analyze, evaluate and create. And notice that each of these skills, each of these levels are expressed as a verb, what we are often told is a doing word. This reinforces the idea from the outset that we need to be active to move through the thinking skills. Each of the first 5 verbs indicate an incremental, that is, steps built upon one another, process taking us deeper and deeper into material. We move from repeating ideas and applying them in lower order thinking skills to interrogating ideas in the higher order thinking skills. All of this work sets us up for the 6th verb, or top level higher order thinking skill, which is to create. I'll explain more about how this course is mapped onto these stages later. For now, I want to explain why I am showing you this model. This is part of my bid to help you develop metacognition, or in other words, start thinking about thinking and learning. Why is this important? Well, thinking about thinking is the gateway to deepening our learning, not just in one area, but all areas of study. With metacognition, and in this case an understanding of thinking skills, we add to our learning toolkit a general framework to set in motion whenever we come to learn something. It also means that we can start to connect up areas of learning and knowledge and transfer what we call competencies or skills from one area to another. If we understand the process for acquiring a deep understanding of one area, then we are better equipped to tackle new subjects, both those closely related to our original area of study and even those which seem completely disconnected. To show this in action, let's take an example where competency can move easily between closely related subjects. And here I'll use myself as the guinea pig. Growing up in the UK education system, I learnt French as my main additional foreign language. For years, and partly due to the education system we have here, I learnt this language through rote memorization. I'd go through lists of words and grammar points over and over again until I could remember them. The problem is, I would quickly forget most of the words I had tried to repeat over and over again. Most of the time, in actual fact, I was stuck at the first level of thinking to remember, and I couldn't progress. This all changed when I started to engage more deeply with the French language and question the relationship between words and the sense they conveyed, especially how ideas are expressed differently in 2 languages. In other words, my facility with language improved once I started to move beyond that first lower order thinking skill, remember, and into the higher order thinking skills. Everything got better and easier. This, alongside, without doubt, the years I spent learning Latin, another linked language, has set me up for learning new languages, even those not related to French. Now learning modern Greek, I stop to think about the structure of new words as I learn them. How many parts do they have? Can I guess their meaning by relating the word I'm trying to learn to other words I know? And similarly, I stop to think about grammar structures and how they compare and contrast with those structures I already know. It certainly requires more effort and seems to slow progress at the outset, but ultimately this process has given me a much stronger grounding in a new language than that rote memorization, just that remember one level method I'd previously been using. So what of other subjects which might seem disconnected? How have I prepared myself to tackle these? Well, I now know whatever the subject area I tackle, I first need to have a firm grounding in the ideas that make up that subject area. This will then put me in a position to ask relevant questions of the material and further down the line, hopefully and potentially innovate. So let's say I want to move into, to take a technological example, machine learning, a technology we will touch upon later, or to take an age-old example, farming, something I currently know very little about. I know that if I want to be original and contribute to either field, there are multiple measured steps I need to go through. This might take more time and effort initially, but in the long run, this is what is going to help me develop most, both personally and professionally, and ultimately be better placed to contribute to society around me. So the big question, what is the relevance of all of this for our current purpose? Well, firstly, whilst our core topic is to explore and interrogate the digital world and its importance for us as educators, it is important that you don't see this course as disconnected to other areas of knowledge or subjects. Indeed, as you will see, some of the strategies for tackling the online world might just as well sit in a language, literature, or history or citizenship class. So from the outset, I would encourage you to think both how your current knowledge feeds into each module we go through and how each module might feed back into your existing knowledge and practice. In other words, there is a two-way relationship here. The digital world is impossibly hermetic. We have to see our online and offline worlds as intimately connected. Secondly, and as I outlined in the welcome video, this course is a lab for experimentation. This means that we won't ever take something simply at face value, but instead we will always be asking, why are we learning this? Why is this interesting? What are the implications? And finally, the relevance here links back to that active mode I pointed out underpins all of the thinking skills. Our aim here is to start navigating the online world and empower you in your personal and professional lives. But as we will see, such is the online world and indeed our offline worlds, that both are constantly changing and developing, and this is particularly the case with the online world. This means that we all need to be equipped, have that adaptable toolkit so that we can build upon the knowledge we acquire and know how to develop this. So from the outset, I'm keen to underline the importance of understanding that to develop 21st century digital literacy skills requires us to consciously stretch our cognitive abilities and engage constructively with those online platforms which we have become or are becoming accustomed to use, and engage constructively with the content they hold and be able to maintain this level of engagement as these platforms and the content they hold inevitably shift and develop. To bring us back to this course, throughout these 6 weeks our aim is to move continuously through the first 5 stages of the thinking skills in particular. Successful completion of this course will meanwhile require you to move into the create stage. We will be asking you to use your new knowledge and create a resource which can start to develop a level of digital literacy in your students. With thinking skills set up as core knowledge and used here as a structuring principle, we are heading out on an exhilarating multi-level journey. We are going to traverse new areas of content, oil the cogs of deeper thinking skills, and hopefully give you the opportunity to experiment with this new knowledge in your classrooms, wherever you may be.